Hey yo, you are tuning in to another episode of the Make Mondays Interesting podcast. Today is the final episode of season number 1. And as always, this is a God-given talent production. I'm your host, Denzel Gaga. And this episode is brought to you by Pamelia Accountants, financial solutions for your family. Now, once again, for the third straight episode, I am joined with my mother, also known on the internet as Christian Mum.
Just call me Michelle.
Professionally known as Michelle. And for those who are tuning in through my level of influence and not Mum's level of influence, Mum is an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully some of your clients are listening to this podcast. They'll get to know about your double life on the internet.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, look. Today is going to be a good episode. It's going to be a fun episode. And just to let you know, if you can see, I am wearing a God-given talent t-shirt. The story behind that is back in 2017, I started, well, what you know as God-given talent now was a lot different when I began. I wanted to make a clothing company called God-given Talent. The meaning behind the brand name was that, hey, we're all given unique talents, meaning we're all unique individuals. And although I'm no longer doing clothing, which, by the way, I want to be doing back in the new year, 2021, there's still same meanings there, is that we're all unique. We've all been given unique set of abilities, which we can either use or whinge and complain that we didn't get such and such as other, I can whinge and complain that I was an accountant, but that's not nothing to whinge and complain about. I love my life. But you know what I mean? Like I could be like, I wish I was more Excel numbers and I don't. This is just hypothetically. But we've been given unique set of talents and abilities. And also thinking about it, one thing I'm thankful to God about for this week, I was like, God, thank you that I've been given a unique set of capacity. Capacity to work at a certain level that certain other individuals can't. And not to rub it into people's faces, but it's just, that's how I'm built and designed. That is my given talent. And then others probably don't have that same capacity. And thinking about it for today's episode, I know you really wanted to talk about challenges, but I think a lot of us all do have different levels of capacity to be able to, take on those challenges.
Okay.
So, yeah, look, as an accountant, or it doesn't just have to be an accountant or just in your general life, what has been your biggest challenge? Good segue, eh?
Good
I just went from t-shirt
Yeah.
to capacity to what is your biggest challenge?
You throwing me in the deep
Look at that
end.
segue. I've just tied in the brand name of this production company that produces this, which is just me. And then I've tied it into the backstory.
Yeah.
To now tie it into challenges.
Yeah.
Because look, I know for 2021, I was like, man, I don't want 2021 to be like this year. This year was challenging. But then what got me thinking about, hey, I've been given a certain level of capacity, was 2020 prepared me for next year, because now I'm at a whole new level, can handle things so much differently than I did in 2019 or 2018 or year before that. My capacity's been grown for next year. I've been given a unique level of capacity. All right, I'm kind of talking.
You are.
You are thinking about your answer, right?
Yeah,
As I
I
keep,
am. Yeah,
keep
yeah.
Okay, what's your answer then?
Biggest challenge in life, generally? I think would actually be coping and learning to deal with different stresses. And I think that's something that is an ongoing challenge throughout your whole life. And I think the biggest challenge also then has been when you found yourself under that stressful situation and you've reacted to that stressful situation, is how do you actually come out of the reaction phase and into the realization phase of how do I now get through that stress, but also how do I bring other people with me out of that stress and realize that there are stress moments and you have to deal with them. Wherever the chips fall, you have to accept that's where they're going to fall. But you have to be able to pick them up again and say, okay, I'm going to keep running. I'm going to keep walking. So the biggest challenge, I would say, which is not something specific or a specific issue, but it's more, if I look back in my lifetime and say, what would I say is the one big challenge is how you deal with a stressful situation. What is your reactionary point? What is the outcome of that? And then how do you then salvage it? Because let's be honest, a stressful situation can bring out the worst of us, and it can bring out a reaction that no one saw coming. But what we need to do is acknowledge that's human, that's okay, those reactions are real. Now we need to actually deal with the aftermath of a reaction and how do we get through it. In other words, from a realization of acceptance, we did that action, we reacted that way, it wasn't pretty, but let's move on. But it's coming out of a moment of stress. So I think the biggest challenge is how you deal with stress and how you actually come out of it overall. In anything, work, business, life.
Can you give more context then? As an example.
Oh, as an example.
Because it's a very broad thing.
It is a very broad thing. So stress issues in life, overcoming financial stress. When, I watched my parents go through the 90s of the very high interest rates, but that didn't impact me because I was just a child. So whatever they were going through and how they coped with it, that was just what it was. But as an adult, we went through the GFC time. So the stress of going through that financial situation of feeling like there is nothing left, there's no money left to pay the bills, we were living off credit cards, and knowing that every day you had to get up and not only as a business owner at the time, not only bring home money for the family, but bring home money for the employees, making sure they were looked after, those stresses of those challenges. But knowing and acknowledging those stresses were real, but acknowledging how you come out of those reactionary situations. So that's my biggest challenge over my life. I know you were expecting a different answer. So segue that.
Great. Tell me, hang on, 2008 was the GFC.
Mm-hmm.
How old was I? 21 now. What's that? 12 years ago?
About
so I was
9.
9, yeah.
You were a kid.
So I was a kid, so I didn't really, it's like, oh, we had a global financial crisis. I would not have known.
No.
But this is the closest thing I've had to it. This is 2020, just pandemic.
Yes.
And then everything else that's come on top of 2020 that's created financial stress.
And that's the thing, for someone in your age bracket, this 2020 year has been a bit like that GFC kind of crisis, particularly for those who are out of jobs and not getting the right amount of income and everything coming in. That is and has been like its own little financial crisis this year. So
probably not so much in Australia if you've got JobKeeper. If you've got JobKeeper, you happy.
You were how does it say? You were caught and helped out.
Yeah.
You weren't necessarily happy. Not everyone.
Not everyone, but
people were earning more money than a JobKeeper. Let's be honest.
Yeah, people my age probably not so much. So
it helped a lot of people who had nothing to fall back on. Yes.
There you go. 2020. What's been my biggest challenge? There's a whole lot. I think just managing people in this season. And yeah, I think so much. 2020 has been definitely, I think, my most challenging year yet. I'm only 21, so it's not like I've had a lot of, and
Mm.
I've only been an adult for a few years now, so
Yes.
really it's only just, hopefully this is the peak of it all, and it kind of is all downhill from now till
No, let's hope it's uphill from now.
no, downhill in terms of the needs of
Okay.
needs of stresses.
Yep.
But uphill in successes.
Yes.
Downhill in stresses, uphill in successes.
Yep.
And that rhymes.
That's a good saying. Mm-hmm.
Quote that. But yeah, I think 2020 has been a weird, challenging year for me, purely because of just how much has been thrown at me
Mm-hmm.
at a single time, and
Yep.
never just like,
Mm.
here's one big thing that you have to learn to deal with, and then a few months later, once you've overcome that, here's your next thing. It's like, here's this, as well as here's this like annoying situation. I won't go into detail. Here's another annoying situation that I'm going to put on top of that. Here's another annoying situation. And there you go. It's like, I'm so overwhelmed by all these annoying situations. And so 2020 has been my most challenging year in terms of like managing, managing. I'm in positions of like having to encourage people.
Yep.
It's like, guys, everything's going to be fine. And then inside you're like freaking out, like, is everything going to be okay?
Managing expectations, it's a big challenge. And that's what happens when you become a leader.
Yeah.
When you're in that leadership role, there is this whole requirement for you to lead and have expectation. Your people who are following you, or the people who are under you, are looking to you to make sure that you are pushing ahead, that you aren't faltering, because the minute you falter and fall over, then they're going to sit there going, well, what do we do now? So we're going to either falter as well. So the reality is, as a leader, the expectation on you is to step up into that call and, make sure that people are following you through, and you're leading them through it, not sitting down with them going, it's not good for me. And that's what happens as a business leader. It happens in a leadership role that you're in with your other role, and it happens in a family. A parent has to be the leader as well. So it happens in all aspects of life.
Yeah. I know I'm not the only one that's had to deal with this year of like you said, managing people. And, hey guys, we're going to be okay through this. It's going to be sweet. And then having to pivot, whatever the model is that you have to pivot. Yeah. Can you name another challenge that you've experienced in your life?
Well, I think what you're alluding to is taking on a goal to challenge myself. I think that's what you're alluding to, which is something that I got to do in 2019.
Can we give a bit of context?
Yeah.
I'm not alluding to it. When we were like, oh, Mum, what should we do for the podcast? And then I had this idea, and then like, no, let's do this idea. And then you kind of gave me the brief of what we should talk about. And now I've asked you the questions and you still haven't gotten to the point. So yes, I'm alluding to something. That's because you wanted me to allude to that. So don't act as if I'm trying to like get a particular response out of you. You know the response you want out of yourself. You've just directed me of what to say and what to do. And I'm the puppet and you're the puppet master.
Okay. So let's pull it all together. What I thought would be a good topic to talk about today, which is about, since you didn't go into it that way, it's about business owners in finding themselves in a position of challenged, in terms of the stress in work and things like that. And how do you actually train yourself to deal with those challenges and things like that? And there's a lot of talk around the idea of, say, let's going on a retreat, to get those tools. You can listen to podcasts.
This is a good podcast to listen
to other self-help type of situations. I decided it was actually in 2018 the decision was made, and 2019 we fulfilled it. And I have to say, when the decision or the forecast of what to do, I didn't fully appreciate what I was getting myself into and what I really was going to get out of the challenge that I put myself into. And But I would say that if you're looking for something in your business world, your family world, your volunteer leading world, anything that finds yourself in a leadership role, and you're looking for something to give you the tools and equipment to kind of deal with those kind of situations, my best advice that I can possibly give is give yourself a goal and a challenge of something to achieve. And by that, what I had done in 2019, I actually fulfilled that challenge, was I actually went on the Kokoda challenge, I didn't go on the Kokoda challenge because that's something completely different. I actually challenged myself to go to Kokoda, the actual track or trail, whichever way you want to call it, in Papua New Guinea. And that was a big challenge. The challenge was put down by my sister-in-law at the time, who had always wanted to go herself. And
wait, hang on. Sister-in-law at the time. She's still your sister.
Oh, yeah, sorry. She's still my
sister-in-law.
sister-in-law.
The way you worded it kind of...
No, I didn't mean anything by that. I'm saying at the time it was discussed. My sister-in-law was the one who raced it with me. And she challenged me to go... Well, first of all, can I say there's a little bit of a story behind this. Her first challenge was, would I like to do a marathon? And I said, a half marathon? And she said, yep, let's challenge ourselves to do a half marathon. And for those people who enjoy running, that sounds like a great challenge. I had started walking/running at the time, so it was one of those, sure, why not? So I said, give me a couple of days, let me think about it. And I went out and I challenged myself in the ability of running, and found that running really wasn't my thing, and I knew that a very long run wasn't going to be my challenge that I wanted to do. So I came back and I said, look, I've given some thought to running in a marathon. You know what? If I was going to train for anything, I'd probably prefer to train for a Kokoda than that. And she goes, oh my goodness, I've always wanted to do Kokoda. And I was like, uh-oh.
And the seed was planted.
And the seed was planted. I've opened a door to something that I just kind of said as an off-the-cuff comment, and then didn't realise that was something that she wanted to do. And she said, would you really do it? And I said, oh, look, it's something that was always there on a bucket list, but something that, bucket lists are good, but to make them actually become real, you've got to actually challenge yourself to actually go, okay, and put a plan in place to deliver them. And I have to say that was one of those bucket list items that I thought I'd always like to do, but I'd never made any thought process or any challenge or plan to go, how am I going to do this? But from that discussion, we sought about the idea of going to Kokoda. Now, that was an 18-month plan was put in place to train and to get myself fit and ready to go, as well as herself. She had her own challenges to get there, her own goalposts to reach and to obtain that idea. But nevertheless, and one of the things I said, well, if we're going to do this, you're going to have to organise all of the, the bookings and the ticketing and all that kind of stuff. And so we embarked on the idea of going to Kokoda. And as I said, the concept of it being a challenge of overcoming something to give me some tools and some resources afterwards was never on the cards, but that's what I walked away with. I walked away with something that I'll never be able to get from any kind of, dare I say, a podcast or a retreat or something like when it's a little bit kind of nice and easy. I got resilience. I got the ability to overcome mentally a lot of challenges. And I walked away literally out of that situation with a lot more strength mentally and physically than any other situation could have given me. So when I look back on my life and go, all of those challenges I referred to earlier, Kokoda was something that brought and gave me a strength now, like ever since I have done it, that when any of those mental challenges come up right now, and going through COVID for this period was another one of those testing times, I just reflected on where was I on the track when this kind of situation, I mentally, physically felt this way. Where was I on the track for that? And what did I say to myself on the track? And there were times on my track that I literally, there was a one particular day, there was one particular section that I walked down. I had a fall, but I got up again. I was in a lot of pain to get to camp for the next camp day. I was the last one in that day, and it was an amazing journey. But I said to myself, for every challenge that's going to face me back at home, for every mental, physical, stressful situation that I'm going to go through back at home, I'm going to remember this spot. I'm going to remember this particular day and moment on that track. To tell myself that I got up again that day and I walked myself all the way back to camp. Yes, I had, some porters and some people to help me sort of thing through, but I was in a lot of pain to do that, but I made it and I got to the end. And so my biggest thing that I took away from doing a Kokoda walk at that situation was that as a business owner or as a leader, it's really important to kind of acknowledge and recognize that there are going to be challenges along the way. There's going to be stuff that goes on, but it's how you get back up again when you're knocked down, and how do you make it to the next camp? How do you make it to the next day? How do you make it to the next point where you can sit and rest and recuperate and go, okay, I'm going again? And that's what Kokoda gave me. It really gave me an inner strength and an inner resilience that stuff around here doesn't get to me as much as it used to, and I would encourage as a business owner to set yourself something like that. Find that really hard goal, find that really hard challenge that you could give yourself. Some people do Kilimanjaro, some people do Mount Everest, some people go and try and swim or do a marathon or do something. There's so much preparation in that. There's so much, opportunity to take yourself through different journeys and different steps through there. But it's the getting to the end and achieving that goal that is the biggest highlight. But what you will learn from it, as I said, is that resilience to know that you can go from the start and you can get to the end. And business on an everyday basis or leadership is about starting every day and getting to the end and accomplishing things. And that's what Kokoda really taught me. And it taught me so much that it has strengthened me beyond what, most people put themselves through. So, yeah, challenging yourself to go on to something that is confronting. It was physically challenging, but it was done mentally challenging. So, yeah, that was my big challenge. But I don't call it a big challenge. That was my big goal, and I achieved it. And I'm proud of myself to achieve it. But I'm now looking for, okay, what else can I challenge myself and push myself into now? And 2020 was a bit hard because it was like, all of those opportunities have stopped. But now I'm looking for, okay, 2021, what's on my goalposts? So, yeah.
What is on the goalpost?
I have other achievements I would like to achieve. I may not be able to achieve them overseas.
Achievements or like walks you want to do? Which just, you can still achieve a walk, but like.
Correct.
Please add more context.
Yeah. With more context, I think there are other things. Once my bucket list, I'm going to go back and get a bucket list, drawn up completely.
Oh wait, you don't have one?
I have mentally things, but right now I don't have anything on it that is sitting in front of me going, oh, I must do that. One thing that was on my bucket list many, many years ago and was on my bucket list for many years was jumping out of a plane. And tick, done that one. So I've got lots of things like that I still would like to do. I would still like to bungee jump, as an example. So, I don't want to let go of those kind of challenges. Yeah.
So weird, like how you've done so much more than me.
I'm a little bit older than you.
Yeah, I know, but as in like, people your age get to an age like, too old for that, and blah blah blah, and they sit
Actually,
in their chair.
Can I say?
And then I'm like, man, I just want to bungee jump. I want to do that. As much as I hate falling out of things, I know that I'd be safe anyway. I'd love to skydive, bungee jump. Probably not so much Kokoda. I'm not attracted to much Kokoda. If I did, I'd do a vlog about it and do a video, documentary type of thing. Mount Fuji.
Yep.
I just want to climb Mount Fuji.
Can you climb Mount Fuji?
Yeah, in certain seasons.
Right.
If I had more time in Japan, I probably would have done it. I've never prepared to climb a huge hill, but I'm that type of guy. Like, I'll do it regardless. I'm just that competitive person that can, look, I'm not trained, but I'll just do it anyway. And I'll like suffer the consequences of no training later. I don't care about that bit. I just care about doing it. Quick practical question for those who are after tax news. Can you claim a Kokoda trip on tax because it's considered personal development as the boss?
Actually, no, it's not. No, you can't claim that.
You can now.
Try.
Can you try?
No.
Why not? Why is there how come that you can't claim personal development on
You
tax?
actually can't claim personal development stuff. It has to be, technical kind of stuff, development. Yeah, personal development, no. Good question, but off topic.
No, it's a legit question because
okay.
I think, all right, let's say this. No bias here, but if you want to grow as a business owner, this is the podcast for you. Mm-hmm. In saying that, as you said, not just podcasts, so how to grow as a business owner, Denzel style. Listen to Make Mondays Interesting every Monday morning. And then do a challenge like a Kokoda or something like that.
Okay.
And listen to the podcast whilst doing the challenge. Hey. But those are things are personal development. And something that I've heard recently is I think we focus so much, I think business owners, kind of where the world is heading in the times of leadership, I think there needs to be times when we focus on ourselves.
Yep.
Like developing ourselves through listening to Make Mondays Interesting every Monday morning. No shame. But also doing something challenging that pushes you to growth, because challenges bring growth. As you said, it brought growth for you. I think there needs to be an emphasis on personal development, but it's a thing that we put to the side purely because of things like, oh, I can't claim tax on it, or not just that, but like, oh, it costs too much money. If there was tax claiming off it, you could probably be more incentivized. Is that a word?
Yes, it's a word.
There you go.
Yeah.
Incentivized to do challenges because like I can get some money back on this one, but I think we neglect personal development because of the financial
burden. I think also the time. I think what we don't value as a business owner very much is how important it is for our own self-growth to go and do something from a personal development perspective. Taking time out of your business to work on it, not in it, is really important. It is important mentally, it is important physically, it is important for your own growth perspective, because, I think something about the saying of, everyone who works basically all the time is pretty dull, but I can't think of that phrase, but there is something there that basically says when you're working all the time, you're just getting bogged down. And that's where I come back to that first question of what has been your biggest challenge. The biggest challenge has been when those stresses come on you, how do you deal with it? Stress is always going to be something that's there. It's going to come from different aspects. It's going to come from a customer, a client, or it's going to come from financial, or it's going to come from your family, or it's going to come from something in this year, as the example, something completely out of everybody's control. But the reality is, how do you cope with that mentally? If you don't have those that training, in essence, you are not going to have those resources to pull on when the stress hits. My biggest regret would be that I waited till my age probably to do something like a Kokoda, rather than doing it maybe when I was younger, and not because I'm old and not young, but as a business owner, the concept of saying, if someone had told me right back in the beginning of being a business owner, hey, this is going to be the best thing for you, is to do these kind of things to keep your mentality going, I would have gone, oh, okay, then that's the best thing for me. So that's why I thought it'd be best to share something like this, because it's the thing that I've learnt the most, is that ability to take something like a Kokoda challenge, walking the Kokoda track, putting myself into heartache type of situation, there were a lot of tears, there were a lot of laughs, there were a lot of sore bruises at the end of it, but the achievement part was exhilarating, and knowing that learning and look, don't get me wrong, that kind of challenge is very, very different to walking a Kilimanjaro or a Everest. Walking those mountains are very much a case of I'm here and I need to get here, and the physical, and it's just physical and mental pain to go through. Kokoda has an added element of history and an added element of, for some people, personal involvement, because they might have had a family member who went there in the war. For those who don't know, Kokoda was a place where war took place. And so the whole point of going to Kokoda is to experience what the soldiers experienced, understand their life, understand their stories. But at the same time, it is such a challenge physically and mentally. You got three competing challenges in itself, to be able to overcome the physical to do it, the mental to do it, and then the whole story of what you're going to learn on the track. There was moments in there where, there were tears just because of reliving what the men went through in the war. There were tears just because of the pain, and there were tears because it was a funny joke. I'm not sure. Like there was so many emotions.
Funny joke.
You're
that just so emotional.
Yeah, that's so emotional part where you laugh. You're crying because you're laughing so much. There was those sort of so many different emotions that you experience. But as I said, what it gave me the most was that resilience out. So that whole ability to know when you get down, you've got to get back up again, and you've got to, keep doing. The other thing it taught me, because you go with a team, you don't go on your own, you go with a team. So you're there in a team environment to walk with others, talk with others, help others out along the way. And the beauty of doing a challenge like that was that it had so many different aspects to it. And for some people, going on a challenge like that is just about the walk. For me, it had so much more, and I walked away with so much more strength than I walked into it. And my encouragement to people who are in business and who might be finding themselves saying, I don't have the answers to this problem, I don't have the solutions to what to do. The reality is none of us really do. Whatever solution is that we end up with is the solution that's going to best fit us. But how you make a mental decision that is the decision and you're going to stick by it, that's what you need to focus on. And doing a challenge like Kokoda, the walk in Kokoda, is something that would give you that kind of challenge. My encouragement then is to find something that puts you out of your comfort zone. And now it could be just jumping out of a plane. That might be a big enough challenge for some people. It might be going for, a long swim across the English Channel. There are people who've done that as their challenge.
Would you ever do that?
No. Now, that's not one challenge that's ever on my bucket list. Swimming is not my favourite thing to do, and swimming and having to have all that stuff on your body and, cold. No, not my challenge. But maybe the concept of giving yourself a goal to work on, mentally to work on before you get there, and then letting yourself go through that challenge to come out the other side, best thing you can do as a leader, to give yourself the best strength to keep being a leader going forward.
There you go. Should, say if I'm a business owner, you talked about the team aspect of Kokoda. Do you recommend, now this is more of a business tip, but we can tie it into the overall discussion, do you recommend that if you are, should business owners take their team out on a paid team building day?
Totally, 100%.
Or team building week?
Depends on your finances.
Okay, yeah.
But totally. If you want to pull your team together and you have the ability to do it.
What challenges should they go through?
Okay, that's some good things. Okay, so I've taken my teams out on different challenges over the years.
Just not this team. not the
Just
familiar
not
team.
the current team yet. That's okay. But the reality is, over time, we have done.
That's an idea. Write
Yep.
that down.
We've done team retreats. Some of them had some physical challenges in them. Some of them had. We did some laser skirmish type of challenges. We've done.
What about paintball? Have you ever done paintball, Mum?
No.
Would you ever do paintball?
No, I'd rather do laser skirmish.
I actually want to do paintball with you now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All
I
that.
would
all
really-
that. Anxiety. No. Onto
Yeah.
you.
Onto me. Yeah.
Everything that you. Every time you roust on me.
Yep.
I can.
Shoot me back.
Shoot you back.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for, Dens. I'm pretty competitive out there on the old skirmish type of games. I play to win.
No, not skirmish. Paintball.
Paintball, skirmish, whatever you want to call it. I'm there to win. So be careful what you wish for. You might have me out there looking to shoot you down in a big way. I think the idea of going on a retreat is a great idea. Okay, if you can take your team to something away from the business to work on each other as a team, great. Now, whether that is a team retreat that is more about the personal development side, i.e., you might just need to talk about communication between your team and work on those kind of things. Or you might want to do something physical with them. The one thing I would can just make sure you've got your right insurances involved and all that kind of stuff, because that can be a bit of an issue. So make sure that's all sorted. But in the context of you don't force your people to do bungee jumping, because not everybody's going to feel comfortable with that. But the idea...
But it's a challenge that makes you grow. So
correct.
maybe that's on my list of things I'd put my team through if
Yep.
I had a big enough budget for that.
Yeah.
/ had a team for that.
We've taken teams and we've done flying foxes and that kind of stuff before. It was great.
Can I request that we all jump out of planes? This
Sure.
familiar team?
Yeah, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it. And
I'll jump out with you.
It's all expenses paid?
Yeah, but I can't claim it. So.
It doesn't matter about you claiming it. I'm not the boss.
Okay.
You're the boss.
Okay, no problems. Yeah, but I think I do. In answer to your question, I do recommend it.
Yeah.
Good tip for a business owner, particularly if they want to build their team well.
Yeah. I guess the whole purpose of a challenge is for you to go to an extreme where you push to an extreme that you would usually never go to,
Yes.
where it forces you to grow and expand.
Correct.
And so challenges are worthy investments for any business owner. We should write a formal letter to the ATO to make sure it's claimable, or at least talk to Mr. Prime Minister Scott Morrison. Maybe he'll say, you know what, Denzel, that's a good idea. Because it is a good idea to be able to claim that on tax, because it's needed for success.
Yeah, true.
Growth is needed for success.
Mental strength is needed
Mental
for success.
Strength. I just said that wrong. Mental strength is needed for success.
Yes.
And mental strength comes from physical pain
Sometimes, yes.
most of the time.
Overcoming.
But also, mental strength can come from
Overcoming.
listening to this podcast. Make Mondays interesting.
Overcoming physical pain can give you
Yes,
some mental
okay.
strength.
Overcoming will give you
Yes.
mental...
Going through it at the time is terrible, but yeah, overcoming it, getting out the other side.
Yeah, but like, the science behind muscles. Now, I don't know how true this is. I've only heard this through other people. Is when you work out your muscles, it tears the muscle.
Right.
So that the muscle has to recover. But because you've teared it, it recovers stronger than it was when you've... So that's why you're always in pain when you do a gym workout.
Yep.
It's like, got to rest, because you rest to restore, and those muscles become stronger because it's gone through so much. And it's the same thing. It's like once you've gone through, yes, you need rest. It's not the immediate, it's not immediately you're made stronger. It's you push through an extreme, and then then you take some time to rest. In that resting time, probably reflection's probably good. That's always good in a restful spot. And then comes what was I saying? Growth. Then comes the growth. Extreme rest, growth.
But even saying that, if you're not doing anything with your muscles, they just become lazy. If you do nothing to stretch or
Yeah.
nothing to create that, you don't actually grow at all. You can't, it's just going to be a useless piece of nothing. So as a business leader, as a business owner, or as a, leader in any field, stretching yourself and growing mentally and all that kind of stuff is part of the, as you say, the growing and the strengthening. So
2020 has been the year of growth because of how much we've all been put through as a society, with the financial stresses, the stresses of getting sick, the stresses of what else can happen in this year. There's aliens coming out of the sky soon. Like, it's 2020. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
So it's like,
we've still got a few
it's
days
a stress
left.
of like, what else is gonna happen?
We've still got a few days left. It's all good. Yes.
Yeah. Let's finish the podcast, or let's finish this episode with this. What is on your bucket list? And then I'll tell you mine stuff.
Wow, what is on my bucket list for 2021 type of stuff?
Just in
And in
general.
general.
Because you crossed off one.
Yep.
Kokoda's crossed off.
And I've done my falling out of a plane thing. I've done
Yep.
that. Yep, that's been a bucket list. One of my, I think what has been left on my bucket list is a bit of travelling in particular places. But that sounds a bit kind of old now.
What
For what I've
particular
done.
places?
Oh, I've always wanted to travel up to Canada. I've always wanted to explore. Canada's got to be about the one place I've really wanted to go. I tell you what has been on my list since I did the walk for Kokoda, and it's a walk in Spain. I think it's like a pilgrim walk through these different towns and townships, and this ability to follow the steps of the pilgrims. It's something that I would like to do. If I cannot do a 2021 walk, right, in overseas, if I'm not allowed to go overseas and I have to stay in Australia, then I am looking at a walk that's with the same company that I did the Kokoda with. I think it's somewhere in Central Australia. I can't remember the name of it because I didn't have it mentally prepared for me today. But it would be on my bucket list to go with that group again, to go and explore a piece of Australia in the inland. I've never been into Northern Territory. I really wanted to go to Northern Territory, so that is on my bucket list to do that. And then, other than that, my bucket list for this summer is to actually paint a picture. I have painted a picture just recently, and I got to that point of going, oh, I can do this. So I'm actually going to start with my own blank canvas and come up with my own picture to paint. And that in itself is a bit of a challenge for me because I'm not a creative person, but I'm going to put myself into a position where I have to become creative and see if I can create something out of nothing. That's going to be my challenge for Christmas. So we'll see how that works. I'm not going to show you if it's no good though. So that's on my bucket list. What's on yours?
Okay, my bucket list and what is on it. Well, a few things. There's a lot of things on that list. A few things that I've kind of like, I don't care if it doesn't happen or anything. There's a few things that's like definitely a lot. I've been like, man, I really, really want to do that in my life. They're not so much challenges that I want to be put through. They're just more creative projects that I want to be responsible for creating. One of them, I think one of my all-time bucket list goals is to one day write and direct a feature-length film. I'm in the process. I've written one draft of a script for it. So I'm actually getting there. I'm not just dreaming about it. I've actually started doing some work on it. Definitely not coming out in 2021 or 2022. Maybe you can start working in 2023. I'm not sure. But yeah, direct a full length feature length film. Write it. I've just started conceptualizing what changes I want to make to it and what more complexities do I want to add to it to make it more of like a film that I would actually enjoy watching, and that's more original, that it's never been out there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's probably my
Mm-hmm.
bucket list thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
is a film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for 2021, probably I do want to do a documentary. I want to direct a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably my first step in terms of my film
Mm-hmm.
career. So yeah, I think a lot of the stuff is just like film career stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a Korean film.
A career in film, not a Korean film.
Oh, a career in film, not a
Yes.
Korean. Did I say Korean
It
film?
sounded like a Korean film.
Well, I
I'm
definitely didn't say Korean
like,
film. A career
no. in
in
film.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just having to pause. Definitely want that. This right now is me stepping closer and closer to that.
Correct.
Because if I want to do a documentary, it's going to be an interview style.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not in this setting
no.
of me doing this. Like,
Mm.
this is more of like Ellen DeGeneres type of style with the chairs.
Yes.
But yeah, that's one. What else is on that list of things to do? I definitely, this is on my 10-year plan list. I want to go back to USA.
Mm-hmm.
I want to travel USA, and things that I want to do in USA, because I'm a basketball fan. And yeah, again, I'm in that media
Mm-hmm.
sphere.
Mm.
I'd love to interview an NBA player.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, another one on that note. I'd love to commentate a sports game.
Okay.
I'd love to commentate like professional sports.
That's
Doesn't have to be
That's
doesn't
a
have
big
to be
challenge.
doesn't have to be like, you know, a career in it.
No.
But if I got the chance to like, hey, I'm slowly building up my portfolio. This is kind of the mics I use for it.
Mhm.
And they'll talk right into the microphone like this
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on before them, before their very own eyes. I'd love to do that. I'd love to commentate. Love to do a film. What's another one? Haven't thought about this one too much recently, but when I did first start the clothing brand journey, that lasted not too very long, would be design a collection of clothes
Oh, yes.
that would feature at one of the four major fashion shows,
Mm-hmm.
which is either Milan, New York, London, and what's the other one? Milan, London, New York. So New York Fashion Week, Milan Fashion Week.
In Asia? Is there an Asian
No,
one?
it's all in that sphere. Paris.
European. France.
Paris, yeah.
Mm.
If I can get a collection of clothes featured on that, because I'd love to pick up design once again, and start designing
Mm.
clothes again.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mm.
but right now I've just got to be okay with working in an office
Yep.
with you.
That's okay.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Correct.
Those are things. And look, I know what steps I need to take to get
Yep.
to that.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I first started my dream of having this brand called God Given Talent,
Mm.
it was like, okay, originally was just wanting to produce clothes,
Mm.
and how I got into doing videos and into vlogging and now into podcasting was because it's like, well, actually people need to know who I am if I'm
Mm.
going to be a designer.
Mm. Mm.
So I got to do some like get my name, that Denzel Gaga name out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I did that through video of just having fun overseas traveling. 2019 was the year for you and I. We traveled
Yeah.
overseas.
Yeah.
The other two,
Not
the
together.
family-
but
not
just
together,
it
but
was
the other
travel,
two of
yes.
the family didn't.
No.
We did.
Mm.
We saw the world. I saw probably two more. I saw an
Yeah, I
extra
only saw
country.
one
You only saw
country.
one. I saw two.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of like, I know what I want to do, and that's got my bucket list
Yeah.
of like goals I want to achieve.
Mm.
And I'm just, this podcast right here is a stepping stone to what
Yes.
I want to eventually achieve
Mm-hmm.
later down in my life.
Mm.
In terms of doing things like a coder, like I said, I wouldn't mind Mount Fuji. I do enjoy visiting Japan, so Mount Fuji would be something cool to climb. Just a cool name, Fuji. What's some other things? What's some other random things? Surely there's random bucket list things. Well, I guess the sport commentating is one. You know, just thought about one.
Yeah.
I should be a weather host for one.
You?
Yeah. And the forecast for the week is rainy.
You know what you got to do?
It is going to be rainy.
You know what you got to do? You just got to get out there and practice. Your sports casting, anything like that, you just got to go out there and practice.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah.
I just want to have a career in media.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But this is how we're doing it.
We're doing it like this.
Okay, we're gonna wrap. This is the media. We're gonna give you business information, tips, random business stories, random stories about challenges and leadership, just all sorts of things. This is what the Make Mondays Interesting podcast is about. Is this is a media version of, instead of just telling you over the phone or giving you an email of a newsletter you probably won't read as much, or what's some other things people communicate tips to. Instead of having a blog, we're like, you know what? Let's have a podcast that people can tune in weekly, that is fun, that is not just this mundane talk about business, but more of like a chat conversation about things that can just pop up in our minds of like, hey, can we claim that on tax, by the way? Blah, blah, blah. Just random questions that come up. This is what the Make Mondays Interesting podcast is all about.
So on that, can I just say, for the new year, any tips that people have for subjects or discussions they want to hear from us, please put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments, but if you wish to, if there's something you particularly want to talk about, or there's a particular guest that you want me to try and get, don't expect too much from me. I'll try my best. Email me at denzel.gaga @gmail.com. So that's DENZEL .gaga GARGAR @gmail.com. Email me your suggestions. Email me any things that you may have liked about the podcast. If there was something you disagreed about what we spoke about, please, don't just say I disagree with you. Explain why you disagree with me. I'd love to have that conversation with you. This podcast, this has just been season 1. This is the season finale, so we're wrapping it up.
Yep.
But in the new year, 2021, I want to have a bit more engagement with people who listen to this podcast. That's another bucket list thing. Engage with having fans. That'd be cool. Actually. Okay. I just remembered what my other bucket list thing is. My mind is going everywhere. You know what my bucket list thing to do is? I told this to someone the other day. I'd love to be on a billboard in Asia.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to be in Australia or America or some Western country. I want to be on a big billboard in Asia.
Do you? Yeah.
Just to so that when I go to Asia and then it's like, hey kids, if I had kids, if I ever get the chance to have kids, so hey kids, guess who that is? It's your dad. It's me, Denzel. Just promoting some random product. That's my dream. Wait, what was I saying before I said all this? Oh yeah, email me. Podcasts. Okay, this is
our last season.
This is the last episode for season 1. Season 2 is going to be a whole lot better, but I'd love for your feedback and your engagement. So as always, this has been a God-given talent production. Huge thank you to Mum for being the guest. Not going to lie, you have been my backup guest each time.
Love it.
Every other guest has fallen through, but you've come through, and it's been a pleasure having you on 3 straight episodes. This is not your final ever episode, because you'll be a regular guest, but I'll try and get some other business people that have a whole nother perspective on business and business stories to share. So season 2 is going to be great. Tune into that. More news. Familiar Accountants next year. We're going to try and have a newsletter with business tips. So that'll be great. Sign up for that. I think links and stuff will be in the description of definitely of the YouTube version of this. So we're still figuring out how to make that happen. And then I'm thinking about having my own personal newsletter, which again will expand on topics that we talk about here at the podcast. Yeah, look, there's a lot of happening for 2021 that I've already thought about. So stay tuned, be in the loop, engage with us, and you won't be mad. So again, God Given Talent Production. I'm your host, Denzel Gaga. Thank you so much for listening / watching the Make Mondays Interesting podcast. We'll speak to you. You'll hear from us again next 2021.
Awesome.
Peace.